Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Sunday's live stream. Now, the start of this live stream, I'm going to be shilling someone because my friend over at Fly High FPV sent me some stuff at Christmas, and I'm that far behind on stuff like this. I've only actually today been able to have a proper look at everything he sent over. He sent me this lovely t-shirt, which is reminiscent of something you might have seen, and you can see on the back it's got Fly High FPV. But he also sent me a couple of other things I want to show you as well, which I think is quite cool. And one of them is this battery, because I'm actually a big fan of the CHNL's Blacks, and he has his own version of the CHNL Blacks, CNHL, never get it right. And that is rubber coated, because we all know you like to cover in rubber. Now, before we get into this, I am just going to say a big thank you to Fly High for sending some of this stuff over. I am incredibly grateful. It's just a couple of nicks and knacks, but there's two things I wanted to show you. So, on the overhead, he sent over the Fly High version of the CNHL Black battery. And the difference between the Fly High version and the normal version is it has the thicker rubber coating on it, more like what you get on the pizzas, if you've ever had the pizzas from them. So that's worth a look. Big fan of these batteries, really a great battery, and it's nice to see. And the reason he has it with this is because he says the standard ones crack, and I can confirm they absolutely do, because my ones have cracked as well. Yes, it's a little bit heavier, but it does add a bit more structural rigidity to the battery. He also has a couple of battery straps which he sent me, and some leaves. But what I did want to have a look at is these two green LEDs that he sent me as well, because he wrote that this 6S LED is so bright that it may blind me. Now, we've got a 5-volt version here, which we're going to power up, which has got wires on it, and we'll have a look at this, and we'll see. This is definitely the 5-volt version. Right, here's my power supply on 5 volts, 4.95. Let's just get it on 5 dead. There we go. So, we'll try that one first of all. I want to see how bright they are. And then I want to see these 6S ones. So, let's go for these ones first. Jesus, that's the 5-volt. Wow. That is like... How bright are the 6S ones? Look at that! That's insane. That is... That is nuts. So, that is the 5-volt ones. Let me just wrap them back up. They're LEDs. He also does coloured ones as well, which we'll have a quick look on the website. Now, the only downside to the 6S ones is I don't think they're wired. How bright are the... Jesus, if that's the 5s, what are the 6s like? 24 volt. How can I get voltage into this? Let's have a look. How do I know which way is which as well? Aha, because it says on it. Now, is there enough space to get 2 crocodile clips on? Right, let's get it up to 24 volt. Right. Be prepared. Jesus, that's even more. It's fine. It's fine. The power supply survives. What I'm going to do is go up a little bit further. So what we're going to do is go on there, on that one, That is crazy bright. That is nuts. Fair play. He also does them in a range of colours, apparently, as well. So, if you're interested in getting some, thank you, Fly High. That is bright. His website is here. Fly High FPV. He's a great dealer in the US. He's been really helpful, actually, on the channel. And he really is a really a good guy. He really is a good guy. But he's got it all available on the website, and you can go onto here, and where are we here? We're talking swag. Where's the LED? He's got LEDs. Let me just search for LED, because that is really cool. Oh, my cup of tea has arrived. That is green. There we go. You can see the strips in full colour there. RGB strips. He's got them single colour. Really nice. I really like them. They're really cool. He's based in the US, but his website picked me up as being in the UK and has added UK pricing, but he's definitely based in the US. But he's got all the different options there available as well, so definitely worth checking out. Just a huge thank you to him to send some stuff over. He asked me for my address, and he just sent me a little care package, just a battery and a couple of other things. So again, just a big thank you from me. I always like to show this stuff when it is sent over. Now, tonight, there's a little bit to talk about, actually. Let me just drop that power supply off, because it's sitting there on 24 volts. Tonight, I want to talk about the Wang has finally released from TBS. Yes, it is out, and we will have a quick look, and I'll share with you some of my thoughts on this. I'm a bit mixed. I was hoping for something else, but I'm not saying it's bad, but we'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to talk about some of the DJI quirks. There's some real quirks happening now in 04. Really weird stuff going on. We will talk about the Era 04 edition, which I've been building today and doing the video on, which is there. And I just want to talk a little bit about that because it's got a SLA front end by the look of it. And we will talk about anything else that comes up along the way, including the inevitable tariffs that seem to be a guarantee right now on what this does mean for the US, guys, because it seems like tariffs are coming around every corner. And then at the very end, I'm going to have a whinge about the 50 series launch because I wanted to get one and it's all turned into a crap show. Now, it's been an interesting week. There's not been that much going on. Other than the big release this week was obviously this thing from TBS. And I use thing lightly. The Mojito, which looks an incredibly interesting product. If you didn't see, they did the live stream. It's absolutely a wing I want to take a look at. Some real nice features on it. Oh, yeah, we'll talk about 04 antennas. Some real nice features on it as well. Painless 360 did a nice overview of the wing, as did the TBS team as well. I was hoping for something a little more mainstream, if I'm honest, in the sense of I still think in the market there is a big gap for a bind and fly wing that's ready to go for everyday users from a good brand like TBS. This thing is an F1 wing, is the term I'm going to use for it. It is incredibly fast. It has some really cool features. I'd like to see those LEDs in it as well. I think there's a lot to like, but I was hoping for something a little bit more mainstream, is my personal feeling. I was hoping for something not quite as advanced. If you look at all of the comments around this thing. It is not for basic users. That's the problem. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I was just hoping TBS would just do something for the newer user into wings. Someone's just said there, this wing's not for beginners. If you want beginners, look at ZHD. Yes, but I was hoping TBS would fill that market, is what I was looking at. And look, there are beginner wings from ZOHD, that's for sure. There's no question about that. You know, and we'll take a look at these in a minute. What they have delivered, though, is a very interesting product, and I am going to order one for the summer. It's not the right time yet for me to order one anyway. It's winter. There's no chance of me getting much flight time on it. I am absolutely going to order one in. I was just hoping for something a little sort of more in the middle ground. Now, obviously, there's been a bit of footage released on it now. You've got Lee's video, but you've also got TBS, who've put a flight footage video out now, an onboard footage video, which came out in the last couple of days. This was slower than I was expecting. I suspect this is some of the footage from when they were being chased. That's what it was suggested to me, I should say. Let me just get my cough. I was expecting the onboard to be a little quicker, just based on how fast it's in. Because wasn't the stall speed on this thing like 50 kilometers an hour or something? But it is shifted. It's certainly shifting. I was expecting just a bit more faster, especially in the lower footage. Yeah, 60 kilometer stall. There you go. I thought it was. They must be right on the stall speed there. They really must be right on the stall speed. I was expecting a lot of very fast, low flying. They said 40 kilometer stall, was it? Okay, I thought it was 40. It was fairly quick, but yeah, it definitely depends where they're flying. I don't know where any of this was filmed, so you can't comment on the footage from a legality perspective. It's definitely going to be a little tricky to stabilize because this is unstabilized. It does move around a bit. It's not going to be the easiest thing to stabilize. But it definitely looks a nice piece of kit. That is for sure. You can come in and see the landing there, look. Definitely an interesting product. Lee has a really good overview on it from Painless 360. So he's got his video on it, which is here. So if you haven't seen it, it's worth checking out. And he gives you a real good look at it. There's I don't know. Funny enough, Coach, I was looking for that. Any yaw waggle at speed. I haven't seen enough onboard footage at speed to see how stable it is. That's been the bit that's somewhat caught me wondering. But Lee does a really nice job of going over all the features. And there's some nice features on this wing. There's no question about it. Like the plastic tips on the leading edges. You've got the LEDs. You've got all of the little pieces that come together. Definitely moves about a bit at low speed. I was expecting maybe a bit more stability. But one of the really good iNav guys said to me, it looks fine to him. But Lee put together a good video on it. One of the interesting comments is, for more speed, you definitely want to cut and tape the surfaces rather than use it on the hinge mechanism that it's got there. They recommend taping it for absolute authority on the servo, probably because it's a bit stiff. The foam is quite stiff in it indeed, apparently. Now, I'm not going to show all of Lee's video because you may as well go and watch it. It does come with air brakes as well. But yeah, you want to cut down on the hinge rather than... Yeah, air brakes as well. But yeah, it looks very, very interesting. Yeah, they're air brakes. It doesn't come with the servo kit for the air brakes as standard, but yeah, landing brakes. Such an Elon idea. But yeah, look, there's been a lot of build up to it. It's nice to see it out, and that's the cool thing about it. Some real nice little features on it as well. You know, the way it comes apart is nice. They also have like an additional reinforcing kit for speed. Needs air brakes to land. Yeah, you're gonna have trouble. Apparently, from the comments that were said, you have trouble slowing it down because the second you dip the nose, it just speeds up. So basically, anytime you dip the nose to land, it just speeds up, and that's the problem. And it speeds up rapidly. So that's part of the problem you're gonna have, and why you're gonna want air brakes. So you're going to need them to literally get it to slow down. But again, plastic on the leading edges, on the trailing edges. It looks very nice. It genuinely looks very nice. Nice built-in receiver option at the back there as well. Like, not as large. Someone asked, do I fly wings often? Not as much as I'd like. I didn't really get as much chance as I would have liked this summer. I didn't really get a chance to fly as much as I would have liked this summer. I would like to fly wings a lot more. Just reverse thrust the prop, yeah. The ESC cooling is very cool. Yeah, there's a lot of really nice things. Really nice. Really nice little features. Definitely worth a look at Lee's video. He gives you a good overview of it. Yeah, definitely a lot of nice. I would definitely like to see a 3/4 size of this. What's the wingspan? Is it 1.5? I can't remember what the actual wingspan is. What is it? 130. So I would like to see a 90 in this would be nice. So if we look at the desktop, a 90 would be, it's not massive. 1.3 is okay. What's the AR Wing Pro? Because I got my Pros up there. Is the Pro 1.3 or 1.5? Anyone know off the top of their head before I go look? Is it 1 meter, the AR Wing Pro? I thought it was a bit bigger than that. Okay. My AR Wing Pro, I ripped the motor mount off and I'm still not 100% happy with it since I've done it. Atom RC Dolphin is just about the 900 version. Yeah, that's another good aircraft. Let's just have a look. Atom RC. So, you know, there are alternatives out there. Zod, I think this is pronounced, someone said earlier, not ZOHD. So what we got? Click on planes, here we go. You know, something basic to get into, the Dart V2. Orbit Neon? Not seen that one before. That's new. And then you got the Atom RC. So the Dolphin. which is a cool little plane, actually. The Dolphin is I watched Painless's video on the Dolphin. The Dolphin does look a cool little plane. Definitely one I might do a Dolphin for winter and look at the TBS. Is actually the Orbit old, is it? Okay. Yeah, I know it's a fast wing. I know the Dolphin is fast as hell. But look, I'm really pleased this out. I think it's incredibly interesting. I'm going to wait. Obviously, the big issue today is getting it. The price of shipping is challenging on it at the moment. If you were to get it from TBS and check it out to the UK... Let me just try and log into TBS because I should have a login for TBS. What does it cost? 2 seconds. It is $126 for shipping. So that is the problem at the moment, is shipping this thing. Yeah, we're not going to be doing that. Hopefully, some of the UK dealers will stock it soon. And that will help in being able to get it into the UK. Getting it shipped to the UK is $126. I haven't seen if any of the UK dealers have listed it yet. Let's just have a look. Pyrodrone has got it listed as a pre-order, but no one else has. I'm not seeing it come up under anyone else. Pyrodrone has it as a pre-order for those who are interested. You've got the electronics package. Has Pyro got the plane listed as well? Yes, they do. So you will be able to get it from Pyro in the US, which is good news. Get's got it as well, apparently. Okay. Hobby RC, I'm a little surprised, maybe. No. What about Unmanned Aerial Tech Shop? No. No. So, what about 3DXR? Ben. They might not have bothered. No, they haven't listed it yet. I'm guessing Defiance RC has it for pre-order. Ooh. Mike Hobby RC said after Chinese New Year they were asking for the DIY. That'll be good news. So, yeah, look, I think there is nothing I've seen I don't like other than I just wish it was a little bit more of a beginner unit. That's all. So, but at the end of the day, they've delivered a very interesting product that is certainly going to get a lot of attention. They still have the Carabiner in a kit as well. If you want that, that's still available too. They hinted at more. Yeah, they did. Yeah, so look, really interesting, cool to see. Let's wait and see. let's wait and see. Yeah, I just liked... Look, I think TBS is a great brand, and I think them having something a bit more mainstream isn't a bad thing. So, Phaser FPV in Australia has it listed as well, apparently. So that's good news. Lots and lots of places. So, look, not as much footage out there as I would have liked to have seen. Oh, that's my cup of tea. I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more footage from TBS or anyone who gets this. I think we could do with a bit more. I think they've struggled to get footage on it, and I don't quite know why. You'd have thought in the amount of time it was delayed, we'd have had a bit more on board by now. But, yeah, looking good. Looking really, really good. The only negative about TBS brand is them almost being single-handedly responsible for being banned from national parks in the US. Are they, though, really? Can you really blame one person for that? I don't think you can. The chances are, if it would have been... there would have been many people that would have caused a problem in the end. I think it's dumb to think one person causes anything with regards to regulation like that. But yeah, really cool to see. Really cool to see. They did a road trip and that got huge news visibility. Yeah, but if it wasn't them, who would have it been? There'd have been some Mavic user there. There'd have been some DJI user there. Also take into account that pretty much every protected place on the planet has banned drones. Not just the Grand Canyon in the US. Every national thing in the UK, it would have happened. Regardless, what TBS might have been the one that got the news, that doesn't mean someone else wouldn't have done it. It's inevitable. You can't lay blame on who's the first or anything like that, because in the end these things are inevitable. So that's it on the TBS. Yeah, cool. Really cool to see, though. Genuinely, I think it's a very, very polished looking product, and if it behaves as well as it looks and everything goes as well as expected, I think it's going to be extremely popular. I'm also intrigued in the hardness of the foam, because they say they've used a really strong foam in it as well. So that's going to be interesting to see. And it'll take a hell of a battery. Hell of a battery. So I look forward. I'm going to wait until I can get one in the UK before I order one. That's for sure. I'm not going to be importing one from Hong Kong. I'm not going to bring one in from over there. Just at no point. I'll wait for it to come. Oh, hello, John Camps. How are you? But yeah, so that's it. Look, TBS Wing out the Mojito. If you want to get it, it is available on the TBS website. That isn't the Mojito, though. That is the Mojito there. 189 quid for the kit version. There's no pricing for the bind and fly on here at the moment, is there? You can get the electronics package for another 159. And then air brake servos for 34. So with the electronics package, you're coming in at 384. Fits 8S 2 parallel, yeah. Yeah. very cool. Very cool indeed. I'm glad to see it finally out. You'll be able to get it in 2 weeks. Ah, it's in the plug and play section, is it? Where's the plug and play section? Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm in the kit section. Sorry, TBS's horrible website is biting me. $349 for the plug and play. There you go. I just got a beluga. Very cool. Yeah, I haven't flown a wing for a while. I'm off. I'm well out of practice. I'm well out of practice flying quads, let alone flying wings. I don't believe it's for the crowd that cares about VLOS restrictions. No, not at the max. What do they officially list the maximum speed as? 100 kilometers an hour. 100 kilometers endurance. What's the maximum speed? Yeah, any news about OpenIPC Cadex stuff? Nothing at all. And remember, what we saw from Cadex was not OpenIPC. We're told it's something else. So that thing we saw from Cadex was nothing to do with OpenIPC. What we saw from Cadex was something else. And there's still no news on that. I'm sure Trappy said it cruises at 150 kilometers. Yeah, it was pretty quick, wasn't it? I remember it was pretty quick. If you care about rules, that might not be for you. And when I do buy one, you won't be seeing any footage of it. Because obviously all you'll be able to see me do is fly 400 meters around my field. So there's no point me showing you that, because that's all I ever fly, is 400 meters around my field. Moving on. The black sheep, one could say. So, someone asked earlier, just before we move on from TBS, are the TBS receivers still worth it? I think they said, or viable. Look, you can't talk about TBS receivers. What you have to talk about is Crossfire or Tracer. The system, not the receivers. There is no reason today not to use Crossfire if you have Crossfire and you don't want to change. Crossfire is still one of the most long-range, reliable RC control links. Yes, there's been a bit of pain in recent years with some of their software issues, but overall, TBS Crossfire especially is still absolutely a viable product. There is no reason to ditch it if you've got it. I think it's hard today to out and out recommend Crossfire now above Express ELRS. But there are some real nice features in Crossfire that you still don't have in the other systems. I like the fact that it will update the firmware on the air side from the module. That's a great feature. A fantastic feature. Overall, there's some real nice I/O as part of Crossfire as well, which you've mostly got on Express ELRS now anyway. Crossfire's fine, especially if you want to sort of get in to the TBS system. It is more difficult to recommend Crossfire with Express ELRS out there, especially the dual band chipset now, the LR1211. They have something in 2.4 gig. They have Tracer. I can't recommend Tracer today. I have Tracer, obviously, in the Mambo. Tracer, I think, is dead. If I'm honest, I think Tracer is over. Crossfire, though, is still valid. Absolutely valid. It is getting harder to recommend it, but it's still quite cheap. Absolutely no reason not to. I don't think you can say ExpressRS is a copy of Tracer. Tracer, because where'd you go with that? Do you say Ghost is a copy of Tracer, Tracer's a copy of Ghost? They're all a copy of something from FreeSky or Futaba, whichever way you go with it. If you're going to really go down that road, you end up going all the way back to may as well saying they're all a copy of something in the end. Laura on 2.4 Crossfire protocol. That would be nice. But look, I still have Crossfire on a few of my products. No reason not to use it. It's still a great system that does have a few real nice features. What you get with ExpressRS is top performance at minimal cost. Absolutely. And genuinely, at most of the time, I'm recommending you go ExpressRS now. Just, it's hard not to. If someone said to me, is there any reason I should not buy a Crossfire module? No. It's that simple. No. There's no reason. If you've weighed up the cost differences and you understand the differences, there's no bad reason to go with Crossfire. There really isn't. It's a great, long-established system. Is there a upside to go in with ExpressRS? Yes, there are upsides. There are upsides that you get radios with it built in. You've got the LR1121 chipsets. You've got lots of nice stuff around ExpressRS now. But if you want to get yourself a module and use it in your radio, then hey, you'll be a happy man. You know, I really don't think there's no reason to crap over Crossfire because it remains a very good system. It really, you know, trying to choose between ExpressRS and Crossfire in say 868-900 you're trying to open versus closed. It's hard to really, you know, I personally don't have a problem with Crossfire, but I prefer ExpressRS personally. I've had tons of microphones with ExpressRS. Binding phrases not sticking. I've never had issues with binding phrases not sticking. Like Android, yeah, you know. So, look, there's certainly nothing bad about Crossfire. And there are definitely some upsides. You know, as I've said, the auto-update of firmware on the air side, I really do like. Bricking on flashing, not had it. I think, look, the truth is all systems can give you problems. You know, there were loads of issues with Crossfire with it losing the bindings. I've had that myself. It would just randomly lose the bindings. That was a real issue in firmware, and I think they fixed that now, finally. That was bloody annoying when you went to go and use something and it wasn't bound. There's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. You know, I've overall found ExpressRS fantastic. You know. So, that's the Wang. That is the Wang. Nice to see. Hopefully, there will definitely be one appearing on the channel, probably around summer. Just wait. Once the stock appears in the UK, I'll probably order one in. So, cool. That's that. Next. Just reading down the chat. Are the top and bottom PCBs of an O3 interchangeable? If I ground someone with a dead upper board, could I use the lower or my upper? Probably. I've not tried it, but there's technically no reason you couldn't. Next, moving on to O4. Now, there is a lot of quirks for sure coming to light with O4. There have been reports of people having activation issues. I haven't seen that. As long as you're powering the VTX, it should activate fine, and you're using the latest version of Assistant 2 for for consumer drones, not FPV. It should activate fine. If it isn't, I would be checking your network connectivity. That would be my first port of call. One thing I will say on DJI Assistant 2 is this. For activation, you do also need just to make sure that you have enabled the security options, because there are some security options in Assistant 2 that you do need to enable. And if you don't enable these right, it might not work. And that is these. So when you open Assistant 2, right? So if I close this little window here and you're on the home page, if you go up to settings, you need DJI account information and device information enabled on. If you don't have these turned on, you will not be able to activate your air unit. These two have to be on. It needs these to be able to send the information to DJI to do the... They're options from a configuration perspective. They're not options from an updating firmware and activating perspective. You have to have some logic. DJI account information for device activation, firmware upgrade, logs. So you have to have, it needs to be able to know who you are for that, and it needs to be able to know what the device is for that. There are a number of DJI products that have other configurations within Assistant that don't require these options, but these need to be on for activation. Then, with regards to the other issues, there are definitely weird quirks all over the place. So, for instance, let me close that. I've seen things like this today. Yesterday, I was tagged in on this one myself. This guy had an O4 that was working absolutely fine. And then suddenly it's now saying on the goggles 2 drone version 2 early, which is a real awkward one. I've never seen that. I'm going to suggest people... that's probably a faulty air unit, if I'm honest. I would do a reset on the goggles. But there are loads of other little issues coming to light. You've got... When you look on DJI's website, there's loads of stuff coming up now. Rocksteady, air unit light footage issues. Definitely a lot of complaints about vibration on the footage. That's to be expected. We had the same issue on O3. We're now seeing it on O4. We also have seen a weird issue where people are getting this real weird behavior when using the O4 camera and looking at it on a checkerboard chart. And you can see it's not so much, it's pin cushioning, but it's all over the place. It's like a pillow. But apparently this is only on the DVR footage and not on the goggles footage, which would imply that lens correction is being applied in the goggles, but lens correction, pillow cushioning, is not being applied on board DVR. Someone just asked, do you know if the 04 has the same IMU resonance issues as 03? Absolutely. 100% it does. Yes. Yes. 100% it does. But yeah, there's all sorts. Now, this is on the Lite, not the Pro, this one. But that is all over the place. There are, though, some real weird quirks coming up with it. People having problems binding. All sorts of issues. This one is a real weird one. This is a real weird one. I've never seen anything like that. It's a bit strange. But there are definitely people having activation issues, camera issues, dead ear units. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say it's out and out terrible. It isn't. You're always going to get failures. The truth is today, what I said at the start in my initial concerns has borne true, which is it's fragile. Okay? The light is fragile. It's easy to damage. The cable especially, I've broke mine. My light is over there, unusable. I'm going to have to order in another one. 04 antenna connections, as 73 FPV just mentioned, are ripping off on the Pro. So if we go to FPV Wiki, I have on here the teardown images already listed for the 04 air units. And when you go on this, they're all listed. And on the Pro especially, the antenna connections are fragile. So here is the internal image on the Pro. This will damage very easily. Now, what is lucky is if you were to damage one of these, you can see where the tracks go. So the track goes to that pin there on the filter. So this is repairable, luckily enough. And then this track goes to that pin there on that filter. So you're going over to there. So you could definitely do a repair on this. That is for sure. There is opportunity to be able to fix it. But if you look at these, and this was an issue I highlighted on HD0 actually. The problem with these is, if you look at that soldering there, these pads are sitting on top of the pad with no solder over the top. Now, this is an issue that gets caused that when they make the boards, they don't apply enough heat for it to fully wet over the top of the pad. And as a result of that, the pad or the metal on the UFL, as a result of that, the UFL sits on the pad and solder, not covered by it. And it will happen there and there. And this will easily rip off. Now, if you really were keen, if you put a bit of flux on that before you use them and wetted those pads with a bit of flux and solder, you would be able to reflow that so the solder goes right over the top of the metalwork, and that should give it additional strength. We saw exactly the same issue on HD0. The problem is it hasn't wetted to cover it over. It's only wetted around the bottom of it. And as it's lead-free solder, it's soft as hell, and these will rip off. They will absolutely rip off if you're not careful. So do bear that in mind. Or make sure that there is no stress on the connections. No stress at all. So do take that into account. And we are seeing these getting ripped off. DJI have chose not to glue these, unfortunately. I've had to resolder and even use a tiny magnet wire to repair a trace on HD0 UFLs. Yeah, look. They should have done a retainer. Well, there is a retainer on the Pro. The top case is a retainer. The top case does somewhat press down on the UFL connections, but it's a pad, not metal. But yeah, it could have done with something a little bit more. But that is asking for issues. I can see that already. You will peel one of them off just like that. Where's my light? My light. Where is the light one gone? My camera is there, but I can't see the air unit. There it is. Yeah, it's exactly the same on that overhead. Let's get that right up under the camera. Right there, let's focus it there. Yeah, it's exactly the same on that. But that's going to be really hard to fix on that one. But this is definitely going to be a problem. It is definitely going to be a problem that people face. As for the track on the light, if we just go back and have a look at the images of the light air unit, is the track visible? Ooh, that's not an easy fix. The light is not an easy fix. If we look at this, that's not good. That is really not good. And you can see again on here that the UFL is sitting on top of the solder and not in the solder. Glue them, yeah. Or some restraint on the cable to stop them peeling off. But I've got all of the images for these up on FPV Wiki. If you want to see them, they are up there with all of the weights and everything as well. So if you need to have a look, it's all there. Also up here now is all of the information for race mode. I published that video this week. That's out there now as well. I have also done an update on here, and I'll show you this now, and I'm going to talk about it with regards to the 04 antennas. Now, I actually got something wrong, but there is a good reason why I got something wrong, but I am going to clear up a mistake that I made in the understanding of the DJI 04 antennas. Now, DJI specify that the 04 antennas are counterclockwise polarized. Now, the usual assumption is counterclockwise is left-hand circular polarized. But believe it or not, there is debate around that terminology, and it isn't clear in the way that terminology is used if counterclockwise actually means left hand or right hand. And in fact, there is evidence that other people say it for both left or right. So whilst there was assumption, because the data initially believed that counterclockwise meant left, the actual truth of it that I've had from Hugo at TrueRC is that the antennas are not left-hand polarized, they are somewhat right-hand polarized. But just to expand on that, they are not fully right-hand circular polarized. They are somewhat circular polarized. Now, everyone keeps getting bent out of shape over polarization. What it looks like DJI have done here is they are not fully circular polarized. The way to understand how a circular polarized antenna works is think of a coil spring. Your signal is rotating like a coil spring, and let me just find circular polarized antenna signal image. So let me open this image up here because this is a real good one. So this image shows you horizontal linear polarized, vertical linear polarized, and left and right hand circular polarized. Now, this is an incredibly complex subject that I'm actually doing a dedicated video on, because what you need to understand as well is what you're seeing here is if you were using a specific directional antenna. That is not quite the signal you're getting as well. Because remember, your antenna that you're using on these air units is not a directional antenna. This view here is a bit like a true RC patch antenna. It's pointing it all forward, so it's either doing that, it's doing that, or it's doing that. Now, a proper circular polarized signal rotates 360 degrees, exactly one wavelength of the frequency you're on. So think of circular polarized like a coil spring. One full 360 degree rotation will happen in a single wavelength of the frequency of the band you're using. So it must, every wavelength, rotate 360 degrees like a coil spring. The easiest way to think about somewhat circular polarized is, rather than it being like a coil spring, think of it more like a ribbon that is twisted. So say you had a flat ribbon and it was gently twisted over periods of time. That is what a somewhat circular polarized antenna would be like. Not rotating 360 degrees exactly in one wavelength. Instead, slowly twisting in that direction over time. As a result of this, don't worry about the polarization on the O4 antennas compared to your goggles. Just don't even think about it. It's not important. They are somewhat right-hand circular polarized, but it is not fully. So think of it more like a very gentle spiral happening over time. Now, when it comes to polarization, it's even more complex with these goggles, because these goggles don't have one antenna. These ones have four, all at different angles. So when you look at the goggles 2, you've got your antennas up here, and then you've got your antennas in the nose. When we look at the goggles 3, it's even worse. There are 6 antennas in these goggles. You've got your antennas here, which are skew polarized. These aren't vertically polarized. Note the angle on these antennas. If they were vertical, they would be there. They're actually on an angle polarized, or skew polarized, and it's a very unusual polarization, that is. I'm not sure if skew's the right term. I need to check the term used, but I'm going to call it skew today. I think it's skew polarized. So they're polarized that way. You've got horizontally polarized antennas in the headband at the top, and then you've got cross-polarized antennas in the nose, exactly 45-degree angles to each other as well. There ain't an antenna in these goggles that is vertically polarized. So as a result of this, as your signal is rotating, picking it up is not a problem. Now, as for what antennas should you replace the DJI antennas with if you did want to replace them? Well, the truth is, changing them for fully circular polarized probably won't have a downside, just due to the fact of the 6 antennas in here are completely different polarizations anyway. And overall, I wouldn't worry about it. Too many people are getting hell-bent on this nonsense 3 dB loss when cross-polarizing. Yes, in theory, in a standard single antenna to single antenna setup, an isotropic linear to a circular polarized antenna, cross-polarization, there's a 3 dB loss. But this isn't one antenna to one antenna. You have 2 antennas on the back of this at 45 degrees each. You have 6 antennas in here. Don't lose sleep over it. If you want to use antennas that are different, just pick yourself up a left or a right hand circular polarized. It doesn't matter which one it is overall. The goggles will be fine. It will figure it out. See what the performance is like. You might find it's better. You might find it's worse. What I am going to tell you is this. There is no good reason, really, to swap out the antennas on these other than they are extremely cheap. Hugo did tell me that they are basically $1 antennas. They are as cheap as they come. So obviously you may get a benefit from putting on something like a True RC onto the air side, but how much benefit that's really going to be, who knows? You will get far more benefit from directional antennas on the goggles than you ever will from the air side. I would personally not care at all about the air side unless you break one of DJI's, and if you do, pick an antenna. Pick something that suits you. See how it behaves. Don't worry about the polarization issue overall. So it's you know, there's nothing really to worry about with antennas. Just catching up on the chat. All the antennas on the goggles are all linear in different orientations. Yes. All linear in completely different orientations. Antennas... Guys, I'm going to say something that will annoy a few people. Most of the talk around antennas is snake oil bullshit. Okay? True RC make really great high quality antennas. There is, without doubt, no better quality antenna that I've seen on the market. But a 1.5 dB antenna is a 1.5 dB antenna. Right? An antenna cannot make signal. The only things that dictate how good the antenna performs is its radiation pattern. So if it's made well, it will radiate well. Its efficiency, which is down to its construction type, and its SWR or S11. You can make a great antenna for $1. And you can make a really high quality antenna for $10. It don't mean the $10 one will outperform the $1 antenna. If a $1 antenna is made really well, it's going to be as good as anything else. There is no magic here. All there is, as Arthur says, durability and build quality. There is way too many people putting way too much time into should I upgrade my antennas to get better performance? The only thing you are likely to see big differences in is high gain directional patch antennas. That's where you're going to see your difference, because you're moving that gain forward. Because remember, I've said this before and I'll use the analogy again. Your antenna doesn't make signal. All it does is direct it differently or change where it can be received. Think about your signal like a candle. You stick a candle in the center of a room, that's an omnidirectional antenna. If you then took 3 mirrors and placed them around the candle in a shape like that, all of the light from the candle would be pointing forward. That is a directional antenna. The candle is no brighter. The amount of light the candle is emitting is no more. You are simply directing the available light differently, and that's all an antenna does. Yes, there's a lot more to it than that. You've got efficiency, you've got S11, you've got how well the antenna is tuned, how efficient the antenna is, but the candle analogy is the simplest way to think about it. You have that amount of RF coming out of the system. It is how you use it. You aren't increasing it. A 10 dB antenna doesn't make any more signal than a 1 dB antenna. All it does is focus that signal in a specific direction. And it's really that simple. When it comes to DJI, there is generally, for 99% of users, no good reasons to change the antennas. If you do want to change them, go and check out some from Hugo at TrueRC. Hugo is a great guy. He makes fantastic antennas, really high quality, some really great gain antennas. There is very little you will find better, but I am never going to tell you to rush out, right, and replace your DJI antennas with a Singularity if you're happy with the performance, because overall it's still only got 1.9 dB of gain. It's going to last longer, but if your system's working fine, don't worry about it. There is no good reason to waste money. So basically, spending money is QC, why some companies are about. Absolutely. Quality, build quality and control. Now, don't get me wrong. Some antennas have horrific radiation patterns, which don't make them very good as well. The antenna construction comes into how efficient the antenna is and also how well it radiates that power. Because remember, you want an Omni antenna to radiate that power evenly. So, for instance, TrueRC, has he got his radiation chart on here? One of these will have a really nice donut. So, has he got the, is it on the images? No, where are the images? Usually Hugo has, what about, here you go. So that, look, if you look on this one, that shows you the radiation pattern, the donut. So if we open this in a new tab, so that is the radiation of the antenna. So you've got your nulls at the top and the bottom, and you've got a really nice donut of radiating signal around it. You know, and that's nice and even, and it looks good, and that's great. Efficiency is absolutely a factor. Efficiency is how much of the power you're putting into the antenna is actually being converted into RF. So, for instance, really poorly made antennas will have low efficiency and it will lose some of your RF in heat in the joints. So imagine the mechanical aspects of the antenna where the bits of it are put together. If some companies don't solder and they fold bits of metal, and that happens in some antennas, you see some manufacturers sort of folding bits, so then you have resistance between those folded bits of metal rather than absolute continuity, and as a result of that you get low efficiency. Instead of your RF being converted into radio waves, it's being converted into heat. There's loads of, yeah, there's a OG Calyx, yeah, it does. There's loads of little things that help, right? I'm not going to say DJI's antenna is perfect, because it isn't. There are loads of little things that do come together to improve an antenna. But only start looking at this if you're having problems. I actually wrote something on here, which is on here. I actually wrote something with Hugo and we posted it on here. Where is it? It'll be on here somewhere. And Hugo has a great talk about circular waves don't really exist, because there's a lot to understand with that. Again, it's complicated. I'm just trying to... The myth is of channel-tuned antennas. There's one that I put on here. I'm just trying to see where it's... The Pagoda antenna comparison chart. Hugo's got some great stuff on the blog. Can you search the blog? he put my video on Hugh, because I put a video together about it, and he actually listed mine on here as well. So, look, Hugo's fantastic, and he makes some of the best antennas in the industry. But I'm not trying to sell you anything. Hugo is, and I'm not saying Hugo's doing anything wrong, because he never does. He makes amazing antennas. But I'm not going to tell you to replace an antenna if it's working fine, you're happy with the performance, and there's nothing wrong with it. Might you gain 1 or 2%? Yes. But do you need 1 or 2% more? Someone mentioned earlier, how about running a set left and a right-hand circular polarized on 04? It's definitely worth a try and see how you get on. It's definitely worth a try. True RC patches are brilliant, genuinely. So that's the thing with the antennas. Partly right and polarized. The simplest way to think about it is like a twisted ribbon rather than a coiled spring. That is the best term to use. One left, one right is definitely worth a try, because you're covering both bases then. Check the super chats. Yes, it's time we went through the super chats, and there's 2. Macron, €11.99. Thank you, Matt. I really appreciate that. I really do. That is phenomenal. And we've got $4.99 from Ian FFPV. Hello, Ian. Why are all the walk snail 50-kilometer long-range flights over land? Is it because 5.8 gigs is able to reflect off the ground versus over the water? Look, I don't know if that's intentional, but in theory, yes, you would get more range over land if you were on HF. On 5 gigs, anything that hits the ground's being absorbed. So there's no good reason it should be. If we were talking over 400 megahertz, maybe down to 68 megs, running CB band frequencies, you absolutely would have the bounce, because your antenna, your signal will be bouncing between the ground and the ionosphere, although what's left of the ionosphere remains to be seen. However, you would struggle to get bounce on 5 gigahertz. Humidity is definitely a factor, as RC Ritter has just said, especially if you're flying at low level. If you're flying high level, there should be no technical difference at 5 gigahertz. You ain't getting bounce. 5 gigs is going to be absorbed by anything it bounces out of the ground. Wes has just said, Tom Austin's 55-kilometer walk snail vid was just over water. Was over water. Yeah, okay, that's cool. I suspect there's just more people flying over land. What's up, FPV? Thank you, my friend, for the £5. I hope you're well. Can you use DJI RC3 and N3 goggles with the Wang? If you're talking the TBS Wang, yes, technically. There's no reason you couldn't. Not sure I'd want to, but there's no reason you couldn't. You have to update DJI Assistant 2 for the update to work. Yes. As I said earlier, for DJI drones, for the activation, you must update Assistant 2 for consumer drones. As for someone asking earlier, why should you have to activate? Because DJI say you do. And that's how it is. Sorry, there's no way around that. Yeah, you don't get the skip like you used to get when I used to do CB and amateur radio when I was a kid. We went through my QXL cards one night on a stream for everyone who remembers. And yeah, I do miss the days where sweep was a very real thing. Doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen anymore. Not like it did. It's a real shame. I used to love having a 4-element Yagi, 18-foot 4-element Yagi up in the garden, pumping a couple of kilowatt through it. I used to have coax like that. Mads, I want to get my first 6S wing. Should I go for the Dolphin or the Mojito? Get the Dolphin. Don't get the Mojito if you've never flown a wing before. It is not for new users. Not for new users. I just didn't like the hams. Yeah, I know what you mean on that. I spent most of my time on SSB. On 28 megs. Pumping a couple of kilowatt. Through an EL509 amplifier. For anyone who just remembers, you talk about RF power output. I think it's an EL509 tube amplifier. There's got to be a few of that. Oh, let's have a look. EL50, I think it's EL509 HF amplifier. Hey, they don't make them like this anymore, my friends. Oh, PL519s, not EL509s, PL519s. Yes. How would you like your RF? I would like lots of it like that, please. They don't make gear like this anymore. The tuning caps on the front and the inductors. Awesome. I spent my childhood fixing this stuff. Scaring the life out of me. Big valve amps. Yes. It's only 400 watt. 1 kilowatt HF valve amplifier. I thought it was 509s. There used to be, oh, look at these. Yeah, there used to be some really nice big amps. Things like this. Oh, I had one of them. 572 tubes on that one. They don't make gear like this anymore, ladies and gentlemen. You won't find one of these in a DJI 04 VTX. I spent my childhood messing with this stuff. You then get really twitchy with some of the voltages that roam around in one of these. You got 2,200 volts DC anode voltage. That stuff bites. You don't forget RF pins. No, you don't, Omar. There is nothing you forget about an anode voltage or an RF pins. It's, yes, the good old days. They ask what power output you run, and you'd say, yeah, I'd run a kilowatt. Yeah, pumping kilowatt through decent coax used to be the norm. On lower sidebands. Popping down onto SAPT or LSB. CQDX 163 Delta Tango 220 calling. When's the Cosmo Streamer video coming out? Yeah, I'm in the finish. I'm playing catch up on videos. I'm so behind on stuff. I've been recording the Cosmo Streamer stuff this week, actually. And I just need to get it finished. Look, there's so much to go through. What's the Mojito empty weight? I don't actually know, sorry. Now, this leads me nicely on, actually, to this. Because I'm finishing the video on this week. Now, the guys over at ItsFPV have released a new version of the ERA called the ERA 04, which you can see almost a finished build here because I've been doing it today. Now, I'm building this up with a KISS Ultra, a mini KISS Ultra Mini. And this is the new 04 version. And what's really cool, actually, is they're using... This version has a new front end. So, unlike... It's still nylon, but this appears to be SLS printed now, rather than the injection molded nylon. And probably the reason they're doing that is it's really expensive to have molds made. So they're using still nylon, but it looks to be SLS printed. Powder printed nylon. If you don't know how SLS printing works, it's really cool if you've not seen it. In fact, I found a really good video on how SLS printing works. For those who haven't seen what SLS printing looks like, one second. There's a great little sort of clip that I found on a YouTube channel that I'm using in the video. When I find it here. Seem to have lost it. Let me find the file for it. That'll be quicker. That will be quicker if I actually just show you the playback that I recorded it with. No, that's not it. It will be that one there. So for those who haven't seen how SLS printing works, this is really cool. This is a clip that it's from a user, which I talk about in the video. But this clip shows you how it actually works. What you have is powder, which is drawn across. The laser then basically melts the powder on the top surface, drops it down, swings back across, pulls another layer of powder over the top, and then does that again. PA12 nylon, and then keeps doing that until it's finished. And then what it does in the end is remove the powder, shakes it off from the item, and you have the item left. Quite cool. And that's why it looks a little bit powdery. It's not dusty at the moment. It just has that sort of textured effect to it. But you can see there that they've got their new 04 front end. I'm building this up with KISS Ultra Mini. We've got 04 in the back. We've got the Voltara Mini. Yeah, it looks like it's not been blasted after printing. But yeah, I'm just finishing this up. But yeah, they've done a new version of the ERA, and I like this frame. I'm not sure how the vibration isolation is going to be like this. Looks like grey denim. Yeah, it feels strong as hell. This is quite hard. It's not got silicone. It's TPU, but the camera is quite tight in the housing as well. I'm not sure how much vibration isolation that's going to give, but I'm just in the middle of finishing this build. I haven't got enough length on the cable, so I need to get it longer. But yeah, just getting that finished now. Just a couple more tweaks to this, and that'll be done. But they have released their new version, and I'm doing this with the ZT Innovate motors. I was doing this one this afternoon. So, yeah, it's nice to see that the ERA is available with this 04 front end. It's actually a different plate as well. It's not the same bottom plate. It's a different bottom plate on this too. So you can't just upgrade the existing ERA to add this front. You have to replace this plate as well. But this is a new version of the frame. But, yeah, looking good. KISS Ultra in there, which is good. Hopefully, I'll be flying this and the other KISS Ultra this week and everything before this video comes out. But it's nice to see that the ERA is another frame that has come out with that in. Cool to see, though. Really interesting to see. When you look at the... It does look a little bit powdery. But it's nylon. It is absolutely solid. Cool. Very nice to see, though. Not so sure on the colour. But I like the ERA. The ERA is a nice frame. I do like compact frames. So... Is it as heavy as it looks? What, the front or the ERA? As that is the... I haven't weighed that as that is there. If we put the overhead, if I do a full build, the front, I'm not sure. I didn't weigh the front on its own. It's definitely a nice frame. I do like the ERA. Where's my scales gone? There they are. Let's have a look what this is going to come up at. It's basically finished. Just needs a bit more length on the camera cable. So if what we're looking at, we need to pop the top plate on. That's coming in at 357 with 04 Pro. No props. If you toss on the 1300 milliamp as well, 587, 588. That's with the 1300. Pretty good. Yeah. What does come in really quite light is if you go for the Johnny... That comes in a bit more. So what's that at all up with the battery strap? What are we at that? 620. That's another Kiss Ultra build with a Vista in it. That is. No need for a GoPro. No. So that's the other really nice frame I like. I really like this frame as well. But yeah, the ERA is definitely a nice frame. I really like these compact frames, honestly. Tightweight. That's really, I really do like these frames. I genuinely do like these frames. They're not just this frame. I like the one on Kiss Ultra site as well. The Mic X. I do like the Mic X. I like small compact frames. Bergadon. Berg on 10 Canadian dollars. Thank you for that, my friend. I really appreciate it. Mads, I got the Radio Master GX12. How do I change it to 800 megs for UK? I'm not being naughty. You might need to talk to the ExpressRS dev team on if they can provide a firmware to allow you to reflash it, because it's going to come with 900 from the factory. I haven't seen if firmware files are listed for the GX12 yet on the ExpressRS. Pop on the ExpressRS Discord and ask the dev team about it. They will be the ones who will be able to tell you if files are available yet. You should, though, be able... Can you not change it? Do you have to change it on Flash, or can you change that in the configuration? Bergadon. Bergeron. So I couldn't see it because the text's a bit small. So, the name of both frames. So this is the ItsFPV ERA. Right? So this is this one here. So if we put this up... So this is the ItsFPV Era 04. So that's this one. And then the other one I showed you is Kiss. If we go to Kiss Ultra.com. Oh no, Kiss. Kiss Ultra Store, not KissUltra.com. Kiss Ultra Store. This is the Mike X, the Low Flow by Mike X. So the other frame is the Low Flow by Mike X, which there should be a full kit of. That's the top plate with the kit of the frame. That's the arms, the pieces. There you go. Sorry, I couldn't see the full frame kit. So that's the Mike X Low Flow. I really like this frame. I like low decked frames. This one is really low decked. So if I want to show you, this is tight. This is a really tight frame. Full carbon fiber front end. You've got close to no space in there at all. Really nice frame. I like how this frame flies, but I also like the Era as well. They fly very, very similar. This isn't fully assembled yet, so you've got bits hanging off it. Very similar frames. Again, quite low deck height. Not as low as the Mike X. There is a little bit more space in this frame. I haven't tried the Era with high PIDs on Ultra yet, on the Ultra 2. I haven't flown it with Ultra in yet. But this is a really nice compact frame as well. I like compact frames. They are both expensive. I'm not going to hide that, guys. You're going to be paying $80, $90 for these frames because they are low volume custom frames. That's the reality. You know, if you want a cheap frame, go and buy Speedy B, mass Chinese manufactured, that you're not supporting anyone really for, and they're banging out of cheap carbon. When you're buying frames like the Mike X Low Flow, like the Era, even Chris Ross's, you're paying to support someone, small business. No, the battery strap goes through underneath. You're paying to support a small business. That's the reality of it. So you're always going to pay more. PrintX FPV is just, or PrintX FPV has just said, do you guys have any issues with goggles screen of Avata 2 like black screen when flying? Does anyone have the same issue? I've never seen random black screens on it. The first thing I would check is that your goggle sensor is fine where it looks at your screen sensor. What I would do is put some tape over the sensor and try flying it with tape over the sensor to check that that isn't causing an issue. Are you using a different face mask? Have you changed anything? The display going black is not normal. When you say it goes black, does it just go completely black? Because it might be a faulty sensor that picks up if your face is there or not to turn the displays on. Anything can be low stack, just install short standoffs. Yeah, well, you can't on all of them. It depends the setup, how they've done it. Like, a lot of these frames now mount the... your top plate goes to part of the aluminium bits and stuff like that, so... But no, look, I've not seen Avata 2 just randomly blacking out. It's black screen, then restarts, and most of the time it's when I'm sharing it to Wi-Fi and mobile. Could be a bug that not many people have seen. Make sure you've updated the firmware on the goggles. Are they on the latest? Have you updated it to the latest version that released black screen then restarts, and you lose all OSD. So if you're losing all OSD, that would hint it's potentially either a sensor issue or it's a firmware issue. Make sure the firmware is fully up to date. If not, completely refresh the firmware on the goggles. Then do a factory reset on the goggles from the menu and then rebind it to the Avata 2. It's not common. Not that I've seen. Right, so that's the low flow. Really nice to see. There will be a video coming out on this week. Just some updates on a couple of other things. I'm in the process of finishing, or I've started the video for the power supplies. I have ordered the recommended supply, and I'm going to be talking about that. And I'm also going to be talking about building your own, charger, and I'm going to be talking about building your own power supply, your service supply as well, because that's the best way forward. I'll probably never end up working with Toolkit RC after that video, but anyhow. Tariffs. So, obviously, I'm not going to get political on this. I don't want to get into that realm, but it's pretty clear that tariffs for our US friends seem to be coming from everywhere. As I understand it right now, they're going to tariff Canada, they're going to tariff China, they're going to tariff Mexico, and they're going to tariff Europe because we're not buying American cars. They're shite. That's why. But the truth is, it is looking like tariffs are heading for the US. So from a China perspective, that is obviously going to have an effect on drones and FPV. Now, right now, I think the talk is 10%. Is it not? But you could see more. It's hard. Now, as for the effect it'll have on us in the UK, it probably won't. Here's the truth. I've not bought anything from the US for as long as I can remember. I think for FPV people, it's... Look, I would stock up on stuff you might need. It was already 25 and now it's 35 for drone stuff. Look, if you think you're going to need a few flight controllers, it does no harm to buy a few flight controllers. If you think you're going to need some motors, it does no harm to buy some motors. What I wouldn't do is rush out and panic buy. This could all sort of change. And look, there's some real interesting things going on. You've had DeepSeek. Hello and good night, Darkman. That's just been announced and released out of China, which, if you look at it, is a political play to basically crush some of the US's dominance on AI, especially around the hardware as well. You know, they've basically tried to pull the rug under OpenAI, and it's almost China giving something away rather than let the US have control of it. A very clever move, if I'm honest. Really cool in what it is. If you look at NVIDIA's share price, it took a hell of a hit. And that'll teach them for the mess they made of 50 series. But the truth is, I think I wouldn't rush out to buy. But if you think you're going to need stuff, I would absolutely stock up on what you know you will need, because it's unlikely things are going to get cheaper. It's quite interesting, the DeepSeek stuff, because they have basically open sourced a major AI element. And I do find it interesting that OpenAI is trying to cry foul on stolen technology when they used all of our information to build that model in the first place. So AI being open source is actually where it bloody should be, based on it being trained on all of our information that we put online, including videos that I've made, including my blogs and other stuff as well. So OpenAI really have not a single leg to stand on, and none of them do, when they made this stuff based on all of human history, as Chris has just rightly said there. It's... Look, I'm not getting into machine learning and AI nonsense, okay? I don't care if you take it seriously. If you don't take it seriously, fuck off somewhere else. I don't care. What I am going to say is it's good that it's open. It's good that it's going to kick kick open things out. It's going to kick NVIDIA's ass, and it's going to kick OpenAI's ass a little bit as well. And I actually like the fact that it's blowing the doors open on this a little bit, because there's been far too much control around this. And if AI and machine learning, whatever we want to call it, right? If this really can benefit humanity and really is going to do what they say, then it being open and for all is the right way of doing it. So it's good to see no one country around the world should control this stuff. It's incredibly interesting. I spent a bit of time on it. Some real cool stuff. Some real cool stuff. So, yeah. And I like the game that's been done. Love to see NVIDIA taking down a peg. As do I. As do I. The monopoly of GPUs. Yeah, look. And the truth is, all of this being in very limited hands has done no one any favours yet. No one's really benefited yet. Let's see what it does when it enters the open source world. Because that's what we need. Properly. Batteries are going to be the worst part of tariffs. Almost zero of us made in the US. Absolutely. Batteries have actually got really expensive. I even noticed the price of increase of lipos in the UK. I was looking today at 6Ss and they're quite expensive now. Even the CNHL blacks have gone up. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. That is going to be a problem as well. Yeah, it's... Will it affect... How does it look in the EU? Will it affect US like USA? Us like the USA? I don't know. Look, I think there's a lot of noise and a lot of posturing, and I think all of this will go away in a very short period of time. I don't even think it's about iPhones, Sabang. I think it's as much about, do you want a laptop? Just remember, every freaking laptop is made. Every laptop, basically every laptop from all of the great US companies, Dell, HP, Apple, where are they actually bloody made? The US really doesn't have a leg to stand on here. And all of this nonsense is that China's done this to us. China hasn't done anything to anyone. All of the US companies walked into China and said, please make this for us. No one forced them. They have put themselves in this position, as we have in the UK, as we all have. Taiwan is a lot in Taiwan, but a lot in China. Foxconn have a lot more in China. They didn't steal anything from us. We went hand in hand saying, please make this for us. And now we're bitching and moaning about it. You can't go and do something and then complain later that they did it to you when you did it. I don't think tariffs will do a single thing to improve anything. Because the answer isn't where it's made. Where something is made is not important. You can argue, yeah, but if it was made in the US, it's US jobs. But is it, though? How many jobs are there really on these production lines? How many jobs? A few thousand jobs here or there, because most of this stuff's automated now. And even when you really invest in local production, the cost is going to be so much higher, no one's then going to buy the products, therefore the demand goes down, therefore you don't need the production. There is this assumption in tariffs, and this is the problem, that if we shove a tariff on, that means you have to then will be cheaper to make it in your home country and everyone will buy it. But making it in your home country may not just bring it to the tariff price, it'll probably bring it beyond the tariff price. Because you can't tell me it's just 10% more expensive to make it in the US. The chances are it's a lot more expensive. But even if you do that, and you make it in that country and it's a lot more expensive, the net result of it being a lot more expensive will quash demand anyway, and therefore the need for it will fall, and you end up in this problem. A lot of demand is created from the low price in the first place. If the price changes, the demand changes as well, and you no longer need it. There are some things you absolutely need. But there are many things that you will do without. You will make your computer last longer. Here's an example of that. You have a laptop that you think's a little bit slow, and you think, oh, there's a nice one on offer from HP, made in China for $700. You're a little bit cash rich. So you think, I can afford the $700. I buy the nice new laptop. However, you then look at the laptop and you think, oh, it's a little bit slow. And you go on and look, oh, it's going to cost me $1,200, $1,300. You don't have $1,200 or $1,300. You say, you know what, I'm not going to do it. I'll wait another couple of years. And that's the problem. What you don't get is the same demand when you increase a tariff. What you actually then do is suppress demand as well, which then means the viability of production in the home country is even less than it was at the previous demand. And this is the problem. It is a complex situation that is not easy to fix. And you're going to drive inflation, which is okay. And people will pay more. And people won't buy shit for 4 years, 5 years. And then it ends up in a worse position than it was before. Because remember today, you might not be making it in the US, but someone's getting margin on that in the US. People aren't buying directly from China. People are generally buying in the US. So there's still money being made by retailers. This whole argument that they're not, there's money being put into the US economy. Just less consumption, not a bad thing. No, not necessarily a bad thing. No, I don't agree. You just end up paying more for less. You know, so, but look, let's see. It's not a political thing. It is what it is. Look, you know, I'm not against tariffs. I'm not against protectionism. I'm not against countries looking after themselves. Countries should do what they feel is right. If they feel they don't want to buy products from any other country in the world, so be it. The politicians will make that decision, and then the people will vote those politicians based on how they do. And if they like what they've done, they'll vote them back in. And if they don't like what they've done, they won't vote them back in. And that's how democracy works. And let's just see what happens. You know, I don't think Trump's crazy for doing it. I don't think it'll work, but I don't think he's particularly mad for doing it. I just don't think it'll have the desired outcome. I think what'll happen is everything will get more expensive, demand will go down, and everything will stay more expensive. That's what I think will happen. Temu, I've never bought off Temu, so I don't think you have to fight China. My final comments on this will be, I think the US obsession with China is the problem, not China. And this whole obsession with China is what's going to cause the problems in the end, not China itself. And there is a complete obsession with it. You want to know how tariffs work? Check out how much an iPhone costs in Brazil. I think the US is obsessed with China. It's the boogeyman. Honestly, the US have turned China into the boogeyman, and there's no getting back from that now. I believe it's pronounced China. You know? I'm not saying everything is good, but I'm also not saying the world is, you know, we're not on the cut. They're not. I saw a picture once, right? And this picture scared me. And Americans won't understand this because you obviously saved us in the war and it's all down to you, and we wouldn't be free if the US didn't intervene. And look, we're always grateful for the US intervention. But there's a picture. And I saw this at a war museum I went to. And it was a picture of all of the highest ranking Nazis standing on the beaches in France looking at the UK. And that's how close they got. How many miles is the channel? I can't remember how wide the channel is. How wide is the channel crossing? 26 miles, something like that in it. And I don't know. Its widest point is 150 miles and it's 21 miles at its narrowest. So wherever they are. And there is an image that's taken from behind. And it's a haunting image, right? And it's Hitler, all of them there, standing on the beach looking at the UK. That's how close the worst thing that could have happened got. Right? That's how close they were. They were 21 miles, 26, whatever it was. They're there, looking at us. China's not doing that. And I think the world needs to calm the hell down. And the world needs to try and find a way forward. Not this constant, they're evil, we're good. It's all perception. It's all in the eye of the beholder. If we're going to talk about the good or bad things the West has done, I think we've written the book on doing bad things. I think everyone else has a long way to go before they catch up to the things that we have done in the name of religion, in the name of our country, and then in the name of thing. And this obsession is gonna cause more harm than good in the end. But anyway, especially the Welsh in a shed. Yeah, we're gonna just not sure for what yet. That's a good one, yeah. So, we're going to end tonight's stream there. On that bombshell, my final words are going to be F-U NVIDIA, just like Mr. Linux said, and your 50 series, and shove it up your rectum. So disappointed in 50 series. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. We will be back again, same time, same place next week. Go and buy yourself a Wang, and I will speak to you soon.